and then after a while, the stream key doesn't work. So one of the ways to get around it is to share a more generic link to the page as live, and then after a while, the stream key doesn't work. So one of the ways to get around it is to...
Yeah, it looks like we're live.
I think this is exactly the right place as well.
Yes, I think so.
Brilliant.
I think we are at the right place.
We are. I think I can see it. It's the right title, so I think it's the right place. Oh, we've got a hi, hello.
Oh, hello.
If you can hear us, please say hi, introduce yourself. You maybe talk about what you want to gain in this session today. And to be honest, we'd love to know where you're based. Are you living in the UK? Are you currently here, or are you in your home country? Have you started studying, etc.? It'd be great to hear a little bit more from you.
Yes, please do tell us a little bit more about you, and so that we know that you're watching. We're still a little bit early, so we're going to wait a few minutes before we start. So it would be great that if any of you here, just say hi, where are you from, what are you currently studying, and what kind of jobs are you looking for?
The reason why we started early is to check that the technology is all working, because I don't know if some of you joined us last week, but there were some technical issues. We were live streaming in the wrong place, so this is the reason for us being quite on early today, which is good. It seems to all be working. Fingers crossed. I hope it's all okay.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so it's good that we are early, so at least we know that everything is okay, so which is good. So we give it some time so that we can see, let people kind of log in, giving time, and also give you a time, because there might be a little bit of lag time usually from us talking to what people could see and could type in the question. So if you could hear us, type in the question, your name, where you're from, what are you currently studying, or you're planning to come study. If you're planning to come to the UK and study, when are you going to, when are you planning to go? Is it January or September next year? And also tell us a bit about kind of what kind of jobs are you looking for, and what are you going to study, and what kind of job are you looking for?
Yeah, so exactly.
So that it gives you a little bit of introduction, so we know a little bit about you, and then it'd be good. You've got to give time to do that.
So we've already got some intros, which is great. So hi, Harsha from India. You're thinking about a master's in data science in Cardiff, which is brilliant master's degree choice there. So that's interesting. It'd be interesting to know kind of what motivated you to choose data science. We have Denny, planning to do a master's in logistics and supply chain management for January intake. Fantastic. Shimji, looking for oil and gas industry jobs. That's actually really good that there's such a variety so far. We never know who's going to kind of come along. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had lots of students wanting to go into healthcare. Right, pharmaceutical
and healthcare.
Yes, this is a nice kind of variety. Hi, I'm Daria Doshi. I live in India, pursuing bachelor's in financial markets. Okay, and applying for a master's in finance in the UK. Again, really good choice for your postgrad. Where are you thinking of studying the masters? Which universities are you considering? And how are you making your choice? We don't, at Graduate Careers Coach, we don't help with the pre-university stage. There's kind of lots of consultancies and agencies that have that very specialist knowledge, but it's always interesting for us to know how you chose your university. So yeah, please do share that with us. Right, Jan, shall we get started? Bang on 12?
Yes, let's get started. For once, we actually got everything sorted, and then
I
we
know.
can start on time.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, should we just start with a quick introduction of ourselves?
Perfect.
So just
Yeah.
so that people who has never joined this channel before, at least know that. Yeah.
Exactly. So shall I start?
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
start. Yeah, can start. So.
Yes, if you haven't come across either myself or Jan, we'll do a very quick intro. So my name is Annika Awasti, and I am the founder of Grad Careers Coach. And over the past 5 years, Grad Careers Coach has been helping international students like yourselves to secure graduate jobs in the UK with the Tier 2 visa sponsorship. And we have focused mainly on very set industries, and these industries are professional services, so things like audit, consulting, tax, advisory, investment banking, engineering, and technology. The reason why we've primarily focused on these industries and we work with kind of graduate recruiters who work in these industries is because they tend to sponsor, the highest number of international students. They are, active and willing to sponsor you. So that's kind of our reason for doing that. And we've started doing these YouTube lives only recently, so please give us your feedback at the end, how you found it, if it was helpful, etc. But we just wanted, especially during kind of this pandemic, to give you some information, some guidance to help you with your future career.
Yeah, that's good.
And Jan?
Yeah. Cool. I just want to say hello. I saw a couple of more people just joining. Binu, Sajid, and then Daria, thank you for Tiny and Maureen. So I just saw that a few people joining. Just welcome to our live stream today. I'm Jian. So I'm the student career consultant at Grad Careers Coach. What I do here is that I help students like yourself who is looking at securing a tier 2 job, a sponsored job in the UK. Then if you want help, and then I will help you in terms of looking at what can you do, what kind of programs that is the best program that you can go on in terms of helping you to secure the job here. So if you have any question, how we can help you, how Grad Careers could help you, then I'm the person that you can speak to. And also, I think it will be great apart from the questions that you're typing, because there are not many of you here, so we have time to answer your questions. And if you also could tell us a little bit about, typing in the chat, they say, just to let us know, how did you find out about us? Where did you hear from us? So where did you hear from Grad Careers? How did you find out about us? Are you on our mailing list? So all those kind of things. Or if you can also ask us any questions, apart from those questions that you're asking us, we will answer them as much as we can, and be very specific if you have a question that you want to ask, because that just make it very easier for us to answer the question, because sometimes the chats could go very quickly. So if you're typing some question, be very specific, take some time to think about a question and then type it out, and then we will be able to read them so that we understand kind of your question, so that we can give you a much better and more accurate answer that is helpful for you. So just any question, think about it, what you want to ask, type it in, be as specific as you can. I know sometimes it's not easy to be specific when you kind of don't know what to ask, which is okay as well. So you just need to kind of start asking, and then sometimes we will ask you some question back, and then you can type the question in. Okay, so great. So shall we get started, Annika, just to see the first questions that we have?
Yeah, perfect. Jan is right. So don't worry too much about, not knowing the right question to ask. Even if you just want to share a little bit more about your situation and how you're feeling, how everything has affected you, what you're really struggling with right now, even if you kind of just comment in the chat and share that with the group, I think that would be really useful. Perfect. So we've got our first question at the very top from Vijay. Very, very broad question here, but of course it's an important one, and it's how to get tier 2 sponsorship. Okay. So, I mean, it's so broad, but essentially, in the most simplest answer, I guess, is the way to secure tier 2 sponsorship, the way to secure a tier 2 visa is to firstly find the companies in the UK that have the license to sponsor you. They're going to be more likely to be able to issue the visa, and also know which companies are actively sponsoring, actively issuing the tier 2 visa, and applying to jobs within those companies. Okay, so that, I suppose, is the most simplest route to securing tier 2 visa sponsorship. But of course, there are so many more steps involved, and there's a lot of other things to consider. So, I talked about the industries earlier, and, if you do want to secure tier 2 sponsorship, then you do have to look at these industries, even if you're not necessarily studying something that's related to those industries, or you don't have experience, any work experience related to those industries. I still think, if you want a tier 2 job, you do have to look at these sectors and really understand what jobs are available within them, because I think you'll be surprised how broad these industries can be in terms of the roles that they're looking for. So it is such a big question, but just to kind of bring it back to what we do at Grad Careers Coach, because I don't know, Vijay, if you're a student, but what we do is we help international students switch from their tier 4 to their tier 2. Okay, so it's a slightly different process than if you were applying outside of the UK as a professional or as an Indian student. But the kind of this process that we focus on is the switching. So before your tier 4 student visa expires, you'd need to apply, or the company would need to apply for the tier 2 visa. Okay, so there's no kind of gap. It's like very much overlapping. Jan, is there anything you kind of wanted to add?
No, I think that is really fair. I think you covered everything. I think really key is there are so many elements about tier 2. The first is the job, like Kanika said, and also the next thing is finding the right job, the right company, and more importantly, it's about your preparation. As a student, or as a candidate, you need to really prepare for it. And in terms of preparation, it means that understanding the process, the application process in the UK, because it usually is very different from where you're from. Because as an international student, I was an international student myself, so I know how difficult it is getting a job in the UK. So I've been through the process. I understand that. So if you are, you need to be aware that you need to learn about how to get a job. It's going to be very, very different from wherever you're from. So that is really key.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we will cover a lot more about how to get a tier 2 job as we go through the question, because all these questions are really relevant. So I think we should just move on to the next question, and then I Vijay, hope you stay with us if you want to learn more about it, because that's just such a huge topic. How to get a tier 2, such a huge. There's so many elements that you need to be aware of, learning about the process. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about the process as we go through all the questions that we have there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vijay, I'll share with you an online assessment that we've created. It's a free online assessment called "What are your chances of securing a tier 2 job in the UK?" So I'm going to add that link on the chat now, so you can complete this, and it will give you an idea of all of the different steps that are involved. So I suppose the next question is from Denny. So could you please explain the opportunity in logistics and supply chain in the UK? Okay, so Denny, I mean, we don't tend to kind of specialise in logistics and supply chain. We have worked with students who've studied that, absolutely. But what we've done is looked at what their degree has involved, and often it's quite commercial. You've learnt lots of kind of management skills and problem solving skills, and all of the skills that a student has gained studying supply chain and logistics, or even having work experience in the field, can be transferred to kind of lots of different areas. There are tier 2 graduate jobs within this field, but historically speaking, there aren't a huge number, okay? And the reason why I can kind of tell you this is, one of the things we do constantly at Grad Careers Coach is look for tier 2 job opportunities for our students. So one of the services is we send our students a kind of a list of suitable jobs for them, depending on what they're studying, what they're interested in, and you know, they're based on their skills and their experiences. And what we found is there aren't a huge in certain industries, for example, marketing, for example, supply chain, there aren't a huge number. Now, it's not to say that you can't secure a tier 2 job within this field, because, you know, you could have all of the right requirements that the employer is looking for, and if they are willing to sponsor the tier 2, then, you know, that's perfect, kind of perfect match. But just to manage your expectations a little bit. And one thing to bear in mind as well, it's okay if there's not a huge number of opportunities, because it's all about shortlisting, you know, the kind of companies and the jobs that you're really interested in. So a lot of our successful students who've gone on to secure a tier 2 job, some of them have only applied to 20 or 30 jobs, you know, but what they've done is think really, really carefully about those jobs and done so much research into them, and taken their CV, taken the job description, and have found like a really good match, and they can confidently say that they, you know, tick all the requirements. So in that scenario, I would say, yeah, it doesn't matter if your list of jobs isn't huge, that's okay. But with the available supply chain and logistics roles that you want to apply to, just make sure that they are the best application that you can make. Make sure you're doing the research, make sure your CV is exactly what the employer is looking for, that it perfectly matches the job description, okay? So when you're looking at a specific sector that maybe has limited roles, then the importance of a quality application is key, okay? Anything you wanted to add to that, Jan?
I think, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you cover most things as well. And then I think what I would add is that it is depends on then your what is your objective eventually. Do you only want to work in supply chain, or, you know, weighing kind of what is more important to you? You know, some students, like, I only want to work in certain field, and I want to assess whether, you know, can I get this type of jobs in the UK? Or you'll be thinking, actually, I just want to get a job in the UK that, you know, I don't really mind because I'm a graduate. You know, if you are still studying, you know, you are probably open-minded, like Anika said, that you are open to other jobs that's available. That is kind of the question that I think you need to consider as a student coming to, you know, study in the UK. Yes, you want to study logistics and supply chain management. The good thing is, in the UK, if you want to get a job, a sponsored job, you don't have to work in what you study. So, you know, I think this is a key thing that, you know, we often tell students, and most students don't know about this, and then only focus on certain jobs. And then that's also one of the reasons of getting rejection. Now, you want to be open-minded, but it doesn't mean that you have to apply to all the jobs. Like Anika just said, you really need to have a strategy. So it is so important is to know, apart from what you study, you're going to study, your master, what else do you think you're still open to? Is there any other skills that you can bring from what you're studying to the other jobs that you want to do? Then it gives you a little bit more option. So what are those jobs? Have a strategy. These are so important. And that's what we do here at Grad Careers. We have a team of coaches that we help you to do exactly that, to kind of plan what is it that you want to do. Okay, you're studying supply chain, logistics, supply chain, but what are the things that potentially you have the skills as well that you can do? You know, it's so difficult to to just tell you just one thing that definitely you have the opportunity, you will get in there. But what if you don't? What is your plan B? Kind of those kind of strategy. That's what we here at Grad Careers help you with that, kind of defining that. That is the reason why you don't need to apply for hundreds of jobs. You need to be very, very targeted. And that's what we do to help you to do that.
Exactly. I can completely agree. Probably the same answer or very similar answer for Shimji, who's said they're from India, looking for oil and gas industry jobs. Again, a great sector, super interesting, but not a huge number again of graduate jobs, and that's actually fine. It's about the opportunities that do exist within that sector, making sure that your application is really, really strong. But as Jian says, consider wider roles that you would be suitable for. Are you applying for the industry because that's related to your studies or related to your work experience? What other skills can you bring to the UK graduate job market? All of you, I'm sure, can bring huge amount of skills. If you were to list them down on a pen, grab a pen and paper and actually write all of your key skills and your strengths, you can apply them to so many areas, and especially graduate recruiters who are employing, hiring students for graduate level jobs. They're not looking for graduates with lots and lots of work experience. They know that you've been a student full time for most of your life. You're not going to have lots of work experience. They're not looking for, a completely finished article. They hire based on your potential. Okay, so just something to think about when you're applying for these areas. And do your research on what the UK graduate job market is offering right now. And one of the biggest industries, one of the biggest employers of graduates, international and non-international students, is professional services. I think we're the kind of the leader in this country in that industry. Do you know about the types of roles that are available within professional services? Could they apply to you? Whether you're studying supply chain or logistics or oil and gas, are there roles within this huge sector that you could apply to that would be relevant? So just really work backwards, look at the job market, look at what the UK employers are hiring for, what tier 2 jobs are available, and then work backwards from there. And it is a fact, as an international student, you can't apply to every single types of job in the UK. You do need to specifically focus on companies that can sponsor your visa. And that's why I kind of talk again and again about these top industries that sponsor visas, and how can you fit into those industries? How can you apply for a role within those industries? That will really help you increase your chances of securing a tier 2 job here.
Yeah. And also, as an international student, if you haven't had much work experience, and I don't know if you've done much research, if you haven't, I would like to invite you to do some research, trying to understand what kind of jobs that is available out there for you. Because what we found is, from our experience, is that working with so many international students, a lot of times you only think about you want to work in something, usually it's related to your study. It's not because of you are not interested in others, it's just because you don't know others exist. So when you only know about what you study, you're studying, your related field, you will always feel that this is the only thing that you're interested in. Sometimes there are other things that is completely very interesting and is completely related to what you're studying. Like Anika said, like even though within professional services, there are so many different things. I think some people ask about IT. You can be professional services and in technology, and there are so many things. Sometimes it's just that you didn't know, and because you didn't know, you didn't research into it, and if you didn't research it, then it's a missed opportunities. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. because I think that what is key is I would really like to invite you to research, to start thinking about it, and talk to other students that who is not in your field. Build the network, understanding kind of what other people are applying for jobs. And when you heard from somebody that applied for jobs, so for example, if you're in logistics or if you are in engineering, oil and gas, whether it's oil and gas, mechanical engineering, or whatever, and whichever engineering specific field that you are in, you might want to talk to other engineering students or other project management students, kind of related field, because sometimes talking to them, it means that you learn something from them, learn something about the jobs that they're applying to. It might be something that you are interested in, and then it opens up another opportunities that you can bring your skills over as a cross-disciplinary kind of skills that you could bring for that would help you, that would you might come across as a much stronger candidate because of the cross-disciplinary knowledge that you're going to bring in from that. So I think it's so important. And also, this is also the reason why, I know some of you said that you found us on the algorithm from YouTube. You probably haven't heard much about us yet, but just give me a little bit of time. Just thought that take this opportunity just to talk a little bit about our Tier 2 Launchpad. We have this community on this platform called Tier 2 Launchpad, which is all the international students there. You can network, you can ask each other questions, you can get to know each other. People post about things. That is like kind of the perfect place for you to learn about what other people are applying to, so that you keep your view wider rather than narrow it down to only what you're studying in. Because when your view are slightly wider, you discover all these opportunities that is out there that you probably wouldn't have thought of even thinking about applying for that. That's the reason why a lot of you feel stuck. That's the reason why you feel like, I don't know, I can't find a job. The job is not available. There's no jobs in my related field. They don't sponsor. But most of the time, there are a lot of them. And you don't need that many. You only need one job. And you don't need to apply to that many if you have the right strategy, know the right process. So, these are all the key elements. So VJ, if you're still here listening, these are all the questions, the answer that's applied to your question, how to get a Tier 2 job. Network, talk to students. Like today in this channel on our YouTube community, all of us are here. So typing in, share experience, ask some questions. Sometimes might not be the question that we can answer you directly, but other students here might have the answer. You could also share if you see some question, feedback, share that, because this is really, this is not a zero-sum game. It's not about like you win, I lose. It's always about working together. Understanding, the more you learn from each other, the more knowledge that you're going to gain as an international student.
Yeah, totally. And then also, I've included a link for this careers platform. So it's a careers platform only for international students, and we've set it up. I think because of COVID-19, we knew students need information, they need guidance. They can't always do the one-to-one coaching, which is what we do. That's what we've been doing for 5 years. So that's why we put all of our knowledge into a platform that you can access at a much lower rate. So it's called Tier 2 Launchpad, and I've just included the link in the chat. Within this, there is a list of the 95 top companies that will sponsor your visa. So again, you don't have to spend hours and hours researching which companies are going to sponsor me. We will share a list with you within this platform. And the list is full of mainly kind of large international companies, ones that you would have heard of, maybe ones that you might not be familiar with. And we categorize them. So the companies are split into different industries. We have professional services, investment banking, engineering, technology. We also have legal and pharmaceutical. So do have a look, and obviously any questions you have about the careers platform, ask us. We're happy to help. Okay, so let's move on. I'm worried about kind of running out of time and not answering everyone's questions. So a question from Sajid, which is, please could you tell me what is the minimum salary package for Tier 2 in an IT company? So let me just say, what we focus on at Grad Careers Coach is helping students, international students who are on a Tier 4 student visa to switch to the Tier 2. And for students who are on a Tier 4 student visa, wanting the tier 2 work visa, they are subject to the entrant salary. So the minimum entrant salary for any graduate job, tier 2 graduate job, is £20,800. So it doesn't matter about the sector. It doesn't, none of those things apply. If you are on a tier 4 visa, you're considered, a new entrant, and the minimum salary for you is £20,800. I know that this is a confusing topic. Sometimes we get students who say, it's £30,000. No, that doesn't apply to international students on a tier 4 visa. So it's 20,800. Perfect. Okay, so next question from Harsha, which is Brexit going to affect international students, or does it provide any advantages? Do you want to go, Jan, or shall I?
Well, I can go a little bit, cover a little bit, and then you can.
Sure. Perfect.
Maybe you can add on to it if there's anything that you want to add. So I think the Brexit, I think the biggest change in terms of Brexit is the immigration rules, the biggest change that would affect. And then that has an effect on how employers recruit. So it's kind of a chain reaction of what Brexit would do. So what Brexit would bring in terms of affecting international student, in terms of international student finding a job here, is that the change of immigration. So as you know, from January onwards, there will be a point-based system for international students that you want to work here. The positive thing about that change is that it is more a level playing field from January onwards, which means that the EU students that come to study from January 2021 and want to stay after their study, they have to also go through the same process as all the international students, like not from non-EU countries. So it means that from that onwards, next year onwards, everyone will have to, if you're not from the UK, whether you're from EU or not, it's the same, unlike before. Okay, so that is the change number one. Change number two is that there is no longer a resident labor market test for that is required from companies that would like to sponsor. So because previously, as you know, as an international student, it's very difficult for you to secure a job because of the resident labor market test.
But students are exempt, Jan.
Yeah, students are exempt. Students are exempt.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult before, but because difficult as in you have to kind of stick to the timing. Once your visa is expired, you have to go through that process. Yeah. So now the difference is that two things that makes it very complicated. So two things is that now the market test no longer exists, which means that company doesn't have to know. So it makes it a lot easier. So it means that you have a little bit more time, to sponsor, to get a job. But what is also changing as well is the graduate route that comes in, which also buys students more time, which you have 2 years. We called it previously, they called it post-study, PSW. So you know that you get a 2 years visa after you finish your master's or your bachelor degree that you can apply to. So that also gives you a little bit more time. So with this change of immigration rules, it makes it easier for you. And if you are 26 and younger, I think you also have the new entrance, which is the requirement of the salary is slightly lower. The minimum salary that you need to get a sponsorship is slightly lower as well. And the impact also would bring to companies is that because now that they have to sponsor, whether you're EU or non-EU students, they have to sponsor everyone. It means that in time, it's not going to happen immediately in January, but in time, more and more companies will get used to sponsoring, which means that they will be more familiar with all these rules. At the moment, a lot of you feel that I can't, or you heard from other people that was here saying that it's so difficult to get a sponsorship. One of the main reasons is because that a lot of companies just purely because they do not know the process and they would rather not touch it. They would go for the easier way, easier route. Money is not always the problem. Money it is, but it's not always the cost. It can be sometimes, it's just too complicated to understand the rules, how to sponsor, the responsibility of taking on sponsorship, all that thing. But with the change of rules because of Brexit, I think that more companies is going to get used to, and knowing how it is like they need to sponsor. And another thing as well is that the rules actually make it a lot more simpler, I think. Is more streamlined in terms of the process of application or process. So in time, you will see. You might not see the effect straight away, but in time, you will definitely see that more companies are going to sponsor. So these are really, I would see it as an advantage.
Yeah.
The advantages for international students. This is how it is going to affect you. But don't never think that it's going to make it really easy for you, because it is still difficult, because company, they recruit not because of, it's easy to sponsor. That's why they will give you the opportunity. They recruit you because you are a good candidate for them, because the cost of hiring is very high. The time that they spend in terms of recruiting the right students is very high. So what they really want to do is to be able to identify that you are the right candidate and a strong candidate for them. And that is something that you can do as an international student. It is not about how this external environment, of course, it helps you a little bit, but what is more important is what can you do? What would you do? What are you as an international student willing to do, in order to show them that you are the student that's worthy of sponsorship. You are the student that is good enough to do the job. So these are all the work that you need to put in order to be able to be successfully securing a job. So you really want to focus on that. That is kind of the more important thing, I would say.
I don't think I can add anything. I think you kind of covered everything. But yeah, the biggest impact it's going to have, Brexit, is on EU students. Rather than yourselves. So the fact that such a huge number of students are going to need a tier 4 visa, and then they're going to need the tier 2 visa, is only going to be an advantage. Companies are going to think, oh, okay, if I don't get the tier 2 license, I'm going to miss out on such a huge pool of students. And nobody wants that, especially I was talking about these kind of large international firms, they're not going to want to miss out on that diverse talent pool. So think of it as a huge advantage, but also don't rely on it. Just focus on the basics, and the basics of securing tier 2 visa sponsorship are understanding which companies sponsor, okay, really getting that short list, really knowing who sponsors, then trying to work out what is the most suitable tier 2 job for you. That's so important. And then the third and final step, not to be underestimated, is really understand what UK employers are looking for, understand how to make a good job application. It kind of can't just be an average CV or average job application. It needs to be the best. You do need to stand out as an international student, and you do need to sometimes prove that you're worth sponsoring. So these 3 steps, try and just focus on those things. Okay, so we have a question from Ojo.
Mm-hmm.
I do apply for many jobs, but don't get it because of my visa status. How can I overcome this? We get this question a lot, and it is a really, really good question. So a couple of things here. If you're applying for lots of jobs and you're getting rejected only on the basis of your visa status, then what it's telling me is that you're not applying for the right types of jobs, and your effort and your time is so valuable. So make sure that it is only spent applying to jobs that come with tier 2 visa sponsorship. And I think that's worth kind of really stressing, because it's disheartening, isn't it, getting a rejection based on your visa status, because there's nothing you can do to change that. It's not because you're not a good candidate or you're not right for the role. It's something that the company has decided that they're not able to do and able to process. So almost what I would say is, don't waste your time. Really try and change your strategy here and focus on jobs that that you're confident come with tier 2 visa sponsorship. And again, it's going back to that list, which we do have on our careers platform, a list of companies that actively and are willing to sponsor international students. You know, starting from that point, you're not going to get rejected because of your visa status.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. Should we go to the next question?
Sure.
Yeah. Asterisk, they said, hi Annika and Jan, how do I secure a job in the UK bracket tier 4 visa if I've just completed my commerce degree outside the UK? I'm not sure I understand the question. You say, how do you secure a job in the UK? So just to clear, tier 4 is a student visa, so it's not a tier, I think you mean tier 2 probably.
I think they mean tier 2, and also further
yeah.
down, S says, I'm not looking to study in the UK, but to find work.
Okay, great.
You know, completely relevant, and I understand kind of why you're asking this question, but potentially our organization, Grad Careers Coach, who, you know, we mainly specialize in helping international students who are studying in the UK or about to study here on a tier 4 visa switch. So we cannot kind of confidently advise you on applying outside of the UK. If you've got a kind of a degree in your home country outside of the UK and you want to come and work here, that is not a process that we advise on. That's not what we have experience or expertise on. So I won't go kind of into that at all, really, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. So yeah, just to be clear, we kind of only work with international students who are studying here in the UK or about to study in the UK.
Yeah, sounds good. And the next one, I'm just trying to scroll.
I think it's potentially the same situation.
Yeah, so if it's the same situation, we're not going to read similar question. I guess that you already get it. So we're not going to answer, you know, individual, because we're trying to cover kind of a range of topics so that you'll be able to help as many of you as possible. So if you look at Siddharth, you probably talk about, I would like to know more about digital marketing in the UK, planning for September 2020 or September 2021. I think you probably mean 2021. So you're planning to study here September 2021. Digital marketing is something, of course, you know, we know that it is something that's very important nowadays, really important things about digital marketing. But correct me if I'm wrong, Nika, but I think that in the UK it's probably quite hard to get secure a job in digital marketing with sponsorship.
You know, we've had students, you know, Shreya, for example, you know, was really wanting to go into digital marketing. We helped to find a placement, and we're very kind of upfront about the fact that it probably is going to be difficult to secure a tier 2 graduate job within marketing. There are some roles available, yes, but they're so few. And, you know, again, it's about kind of looking at the industries that sponsor the most international students. And, you know, unfortunately, marketing isn't one of them. Okay, that could change, but I'm just talking about kind of the job market right now. You know, the companies that sponsor the tier 2 visa right now, they don't tend to be within the marketing field. But what I would say, it's a very it's a great master's that you have. All of your skills, especially digital marketing, you know, you're confident with technology, you're confident with communication, and you can apply that to so many tier 2 graduate jobs. Okay, so don't think that you know you're at a dead end and there's no opportunities for you. There absolutely are, but you might have to just think slightly differently. You know, even within a professional services firm, you know, there could be a technology consulting role that uses all of the skills that you've developed in your digital marketing masters. So just be flexible, be open-minded, and just really try and think about these transferable skills that you have.
Yeah, totally. I think that's really important, because it's the same with the previous question that the students have. I would say that be open-minded and have a job strategy. That is what you really, really need. If you do not know how to do that, check out our Tier 2 Launchpad platform, check out our website, check out the channel, learn a lot more, be prepared. Because if you're coming in September 2021, let's say I assume that you say it's coming September 2021, which means that you'll be graduating in September 2022. So well done, I would say, for having started looking into these opportunities already, because we are now in November 2020. So if you started looking because you're coming to study, so this is the great time, Siddharth. So I would say that well done for doing what you do, and keep it up. And I would say that do your research, and then if you want our help, come and join us as soon as you start. Once you started, or even before, a month before you start, August 2021. That's the time they come and talk to us, and then ask for help and say, look, tell us that you need guidance, what you can do, because timing is so key. Because if you miss the timing, you miss the entire recruitment cycle, regardless of what kind of jobs you want to go into. So between now until you come to study, there are plenty of time for you to do the research, find out what kind of jobs that you can use the digital marketing skills, that you like, that Anika say, all the transferable skills that you can use, and that would help you. That would definitely help you. Time is on your side. And also we know that, I know some of you might be worrying about COVID. Hopefully by that time, things are getting better and things are recovering. By the time you graduate, there are a lot more different types of jobs, and it will be a more dynamic, diverse economy or a growing economy. Then it will make a lot of things easier for you. But excellent, well done for having started researching and then asking this question now.
Yeah, perfect. And then we've got a kind of an industry related question from Ojo, but I guess one thing I want to say is, yes, there are lots of ways we can help you, and there's lots of ways we help international students. So one is the careers platform, Tier 2 Launchpad, but there are also kind of one-to-one coaching programs that we have, and more specific packages that might be suitable for you. So what I would say is your perfect next step is to book a one-to-one call with our team. So if you send your CV to hello@gradcareerscoach.com, I will then be able to direct you on your next steps. Okay, so it's probably easier to have that one-to-one chat, because you're all individuals studying different things and interested in different career paths. So having a chat with us and one of our team members, it's likely to be kind of Jan or Sylvia. They'll be able to advise you on what is the perfect next step for you, and also whether we can help you as well. So that's kind of the next thing after this. If you still have questions and you still need some help, then I would recommend doing that. So yeah, Ojo, it's the same thing. So I've put in the chat a link to, I put in the chat our email address. So if you can send your CV to that email address, and then on the back of that, we'll book you in for a one-to-one call. Then we can talk a little bit more about your sector, about sustainable energy systems, because it'd be great to know a bit more about your work experience, a bit more about your background, in order to give you a more informed answer about your chances of securing a job.
Yeah. I'm looking at the next question, which says, is there any scope for medical engineering due to COVID?
I think we had that, didn't we? We had that question already.
Oh, you had that question
from
already.
Siddharth. I think it's the same.
It's the same COVID, and then we talk about.
Should we do Addison? Please tell us about the graduate route scheme.
Oh yeah. Please tell us about graduate route scheme.
Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, the graduate route scheme is the 2-year extension on your visa. So if you come to the UK to study, you will be on a Tier 4 student visa, and just before that expires, you'll be able to apply for this graduate route visa, which will grant you 2 years of extended leave in the UK. In those 2 years, you can pretty much do anything that you want. You can work part-time, you can work kind of full-time. You don't need to work for a company that sponsors your Tier 2 visa. You can work anywhere you like. So there's so much flexibility. It's brilliant, actually. It's really, really exciting. We're so kind of glad that it's taking place. And you will be eligible for this 2-year graduate route extension if you graduate on or after summer 2021. But again, the graduate route has a lot of advantages, but you need to ask yourself, what is your long-term plan? Do you want to stay in the UK for just 2 years and then you want to return home? Then the graduate route is kind of a perfect scheme for you. Do you want to stay in the UK more permanently? Do you want to have a permanent visa, a Tier 2 visa for a number of years, and then maybe even in the future convert to permanent residency or indefinite leave to remain? If you are looking for something more permanent, then the only route to that is the Tier 2 work visa, which is going to be called the skilled worker visa from next year.
Yeah, totally. That is a really good point, because we talked about this quite a lot. It is definitely a benefit and advantage for you, because it buys you more time and you can do what you want, but also be aware of what is your long-term goals that you want to do. You want to stay in the UK, or you want to just come here for 2 years and then after stay here for 2 years, get some experience and return home, or you want to stay here for long term. It's really important, especially if you're a graduate. We also talked about it quite a bit, which is the graduate. Be very careful not to wait. Don't think that because you have 2 years you can wait, because the recruitment is always 1 year in advance. And so it is time to kind of start preparing as soon as you start your master's, or when your final year if you're in your bachelor degree. And what is really key thing is sometimes I think, was it the first 2 years that employers, or 3 years, employers will consider you as fresh graduates. And if you are not fresh graduates, then sometimes it works against you. So if you don't apply early enough, right after you graduate, it can work against you, because they are really not looking at how many years of experience you have for the graduate scheme, the graduate position, which is the position that most likely to get sponsorship in all those companies. Is that they really want to be able to train you, to nurture you when you're fresh graduates. So after you have a few years of experience, then it might work against you. So this is something that you need to be aware of as well.
Exactly. Employers want you to hire students who've just graduated, not who've graduated a year or 2 years afterwards, because you're then not potentially eligible for the graduate job that they have. So a kind of a statement from Aravind, which I think is quite important to highlight here, because I'm sure many others are feeling the same way. Is there any scope for mechanical engineering due to COVID-19? There aren't any companies hiring right now, which is quite devastating. I have a Tier 4 visa and would like to work in the UK. So what I would say is, yes, I think there is scope for engineering, yes, but some industries, yet they have dropped their recruitment. So it's really a case of, again, working backwards. So looking at graduate jobs websites, so kind of prospects or targets or Bright Network, or on our careers platform, where we have the list of companies that sponsor tier 2 visas, looking at that list and working backwards from there. Rather than most students think about what they're studying and then they go and look for jobs related to that. But unfortunately, especially with COVID-19, I think you have to have a completely different strategy, and you have to work backwards. Look at who is hiring. You kind of mentioned there are no companies hiring right now, which obviously it isn't true. I mean, we've helped students over the last few months secure tier 2 graduate jobs across very different sectors. So they absolutely are hiring. There are companies that are more likely to be continuing their recruitment compared to others. So what we found over the last 6 or 8 months is large international companies are continuing to recruit graduates. They aren't pausing, they aren't reducing, they're very, very much still hitting the same targets recruitment-wise than they wanted to hit last year. So there hasn't been a change. The companies that have been affected, probably small to medium-sized companies and certain sectors as well. So, maybe construction and travel, hospitality. So what I wanted you to feel is try not to be too disappointed and try not to be too devastated. Look at who is hiring, which companies are advertising, companies right now are going above and beyond to try and recruit you. So they're doing virtual insight days, they're doing careers fairs, they're doing so many things to reach out to you. You only have to look at LinkedIn to see there is so much activity. So you have to, I guess, position yourself for success, and look at not at the negatives, but look at who is hiring, who is actively hiring. How can you fit into that industry? How can you fit into that job role? And just be mindful of just having that strategy. But I totally understand as well that you are kind of feeling disappointed and devastated, and you definitely aren't alone. Even kind of UK students are feeling that way. But what I would say is, from our experience, certainly, and we have graduate recruiters on our coaching team who confirmed this, UK employers are still hiring. It's very different across different sectors. Okay, so it's understanding who is most affected and who is least affected by COVID-19, who is still hiring.
Yep, definitely. There's this one question that I think is really interesting question. Maybe we should answer them. It's from Chabot, saying that when do you think we should make employers aware that we are under a tier 4 visa and ask for a sponsorship?
Yeah, I love that question. It's a good one. So firstly, always try and make sure that you're directing your job application to a company that can sponsor you. Because the worst thing, and we had it with one of our successful students, Renesi, before he came to us and joined our program, he was really far down the recruitment process for a company. I mean, he'd got through to the second or third interview. This is when it was in person. They really liked him. They wanted to hire him, and everything was pretty much finalized. And then they found out that he needs sponsorship, and the whole thing just collapsed and reached a dead end. And the company was so disappointed. He was so disappointed. So don't let that situation happen to you, because again, your time is valuable. Make sure that you're applying to companies that can sponsor you, that are willing to sponsor you. But the point at which you can make employers aware, I think a really nice point is when you get through to, say, the assessment center or the interview stage, when you're kind of, it's that more personal interaction that you're having. We see some international students put it on their CVs, need the right to work. And again, I think that's absolutely fine. It's being really clear from the very beginning, this is your status, this is what you need. So if you can't sponsor my work visa, then we might not, be able to proceed. of course, if you graduate post summer 2021, I don't know if you do, Charbel, but if that's right, you then don't need to maybe raise this question, because you are going to have 2 years after you graduate where you can work for any company and you don't need the sponsorship.
Yeah. I think it would be good if I just want to bring this up, like maybe Anika, we can discuss a little bit about this, because I think a lot of international students, including myself, when I first came here a long time ago, I can totally understand how you feel, as in you are trying to kind of juggle as an international, you're trying to figure out when is the best time to tell the employer, because you don't want the opportunity. You don't want that you are automatically rejected because you need sponsorship. You want to show yourself to them, to your potential employers. And also you don't want to lie to them, because you don't want to waste their time as well. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to be like, our students' experience where they went further down the line and then you just got rejected at the final stage. You were very disappointed and the employers is very disappointed. So I can totally understand. I think there are a couple of things that I see from international students recently is that when you're filling in your application form, I think it is when you get asked the question, whether do you have the right to work? Now, that is a kind of a gray area, I would say, when they ask you whether do you have the right to work. When you still have the tier 4 visa, you kind of still consider you have the right to work.
Yeah.
And when you have your graduate visa, if you you graduate next year summer, you get the grad, you have the right to work. So you can definitely take that you have the right to work. But you also want to make them aware that you need a sponsorship for the long-term work, that you need to work for them. So it really depends on the scenario. Just want to making sure that you're aware of that, and what can you do in terms of managing that. So that is really important. And another thing that I also think is really important for international students is how you perceive yourself and how you perceive your relationship with your potential employer. What I find is a majority of international students, it's not your fault. We all feel that because you come into a foreign country, you're studying here, you might feel that, it is always like me against them or they against me kind of a situation. And then you come in and then you're trying to perform as in the way, and that can actually hold you back from building a close relationship during an interview. And I just want to highlight that, because I think a lot of employers or your hiring manager, when it comes to the stage of interview, they want to hire you as much as you want to work for them. So I think that is really key, because sometimes as an international student, you don't see that side of things. So you become really nervous. You become, kind of feeling that I need to do everything to please them so that I will get this job. But actually at that stage, they like you as much as you like them. So it is a way of, it's a both way of a relationship that you're building with the employer, so that, they want honesty, they want you to be upfront, they want you to build the relationship. So these are the skills that you need to build as well. So it's not just sending application, finding the company that sponsor. At this stage, maybe you feel that that's what you need to do at this stage, but you need to start building all these skills, that actually how to build the relationship when you are in the interview with other students, other candidates that in that interview. Now it's a little bit different because you do everything online, which means it's also a little bit harder to build the relationship as well. So all these things are so important skills that you need to have. It's just really not just filling in application, ticking the box like exams. It's not. You are entering into a real working environment, a real world that you are working. So it's so important that you do all that. And the good thing is at Grad Careers, all our coaches are graduate recruiters. So by working with our graduate recruiters, you will be able to actually learn all these skills as well. And we will teach you what you need to do, what you need to pay attention for.
And they will admit as well, the likability factor is really, really important, So yes, employers hire based on skills, based on, academics, based on experiences, but they also need to feel confident that you're going to fit in the organization, you're going to fit in with the team, you're going to be this really positive new addition to their company, and you're going to add loads and loads of value. Don't forget about the likability factor, even though the beginning of the application process can feel very impersonal, because it's usually just a form, or you have to email your CV, for example. But 9 times out of 10, there is somebody looking at that. There'll be somebody, reviewing it and making that decision. So just remember that through the process, and it is a human process. So we've probably got only time for a couple of questions before we wrap up. So one from Amin. So Amin, I am sure that we've spoken, or that we've definitely emailed back and forth many, many times. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, so her question is, how will we find the application of the graduate route scheme? Great question. I would love to know that too. We don't have the details of this just yet. I think because of COVID-19, they're probably going to make it super easy. It'll probably be in the form of an app or an online application. I don't think they're going to make students go, into an office and have to do all the paperwork there. I think it should be quite straightforward. Your university won't do that for you, and I had to check this because I wasn't sure, but it's up to you as a student to apply yourself for the graduate route visa, and you have to apply for this before your tier 4 visa expires. So the timing is important, but there definitely will be much more detail about this graduate route visa, about the application process nearer the time. To be honest, I think January is going to be full of information about Brexit, about the points-based system. Potentially closer to June, closer to maybe even May, there'll be more information. Hopefully earlier, but there hasn't been much information about this new scheme, apart from that it's going to be from summer 2021.
Yep, that's true. We have no information yet.
Yeah, I wish we could kind of.
Yeah, I wish we could give you more.
I hope that it will be a very easy application, easy online application. But don't worry, as soon as any information is published, it will be on the government website. So just keep checking that regularly. It will definitely be on there as soon as it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
One last question from Philip, and then I think we wrap up.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So it's a graduate route scheme related question. I just finished my master's in engineering, and my tier 4 visa expires in January 2021. I want to stay and work in the UK. What are my options to stay longer and find a job? So, firstly, Philip, if your visa expires in January 2021, it is unlikely you're going to be eligible for the 2-year graduate route scheme, because it's only available for students who graduate on or after summer 2021. And obviously there's a massive gap between January and summer next year. So I do not think you'll be eligible for the graduate route scheme. So then your option to stay longer, there isn't an option to stay longer, unfortunately, but your option to work in the UK is the tier 2 visa. So that is going to be your only route to staying in the UK, is to secure a job with tier 2 visa sponsorship.
Yeah, I would say that if you want to get a work visa, that is the probably option. But if you want to explore the wider option, kind of, because we are not immigration advisor here, so we won't be able to give you any other option that is outside of getting a graduate job or things like that. So I would say maybe it's best for you to seek advice from immigration experts that who are able to help you with that, kind of, because they probably would, know any other ways. And also every other student's different circumstances, different background. That is not, because immigration is a hugely confusing, complex thing. What we know is about graduate students, when you switch to tier 2, that's what we specialize in, we are familiar with. Other than that, we don't want to tell you that definitely there's no other opportunity, but work opportunity, tier 2 is the only one. And you already said that you're not for eligible for tier 5. So kind of that is tier 2 is kind of the key. But any others, we just simply haven't got the sufficient knowledge to help you with that. So do seek out advice from immigration advisor. I think they will be the best people to.
I think your university, to be honest.
University as well, yeah.
But yeah, the route, as I see it for you, is the only route it would be the tier 2 work visa. Perfect. So that's a wrap, and that's a kind of a nice end because we haven't got any more questions coming through. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for turning up, for asking really good questions, for just sharing more about who you are and what you're struggling with. We really appreciate it. It's super interesting for us to have this kind of live session with you, and we only just started a few weeks ago, but we will continue doing this once a week. We're going to try and aim for the same time every week. But if you're not on our mailing list, then email us your CV and we can kind of pop you on our mailing list so you can be updated about our next live event.
Yep. I'll subscribe to this channel, turn on notification, and then you will get notification every time when we publish a live. And then you can join us and ask us any question, and tell your friends about this channel. About our YouTube live. If they have international student like yourself looking for a tier 2 job, do invite them to join us because the more the merrier. So if you could just get everyone to join us, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it is hard to be an international student and it's a tough year. So just turning up to an event like this, I think you should feel really kind of proud of yourselves that you're taking action and you're trying to get help and you're trying to seek a solution and understand more about your options. So yeah, well done, and hopefully we'll see some of you again at another live event. But for now, enjoy the rest of this. Well, it's sunny in the UK anyway.
Yeah. Well, at least in London, it's very sunny. I don't know anywhere else.
True. That's true.
I don't know about anywhere else. UK, you could be very different.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside London, or even different parts of London. So.
Yeah, this is true. All right, I'm going to stop the stream now, but we will see some of you hopefully
soon
next week.
Yep.